This podcast was originally live-streamed on the NonSequitur show on YouTube. New episodes air weekdays, Monday through Friday, at 8 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/NonSequitur show. Make sure you never miss a live stream by visiting www.nonsecshow.com/schedule. For the latest news, polls and updates throughout the day, follow us on Twitter @NonSecShow or Facebook.com/NonSecShow. That's NONSEQ show. If you'd like to get exclusive content, bi-weekly private hangouts with Kyle and Steve, backstage access to chat with guests after shows hosted on your channel and much more, become a Patreon saint of NonSequitur. It ensures we continue to improve our show and brings you into the process at the same time. Visit patreon.com/NonSequitur today while the limited spots are still available.
The following podcast is intended for those who believe bold ideas are righteous, unique perspectives are gospel, and strong opinions are sacred. This is Non-Sequitur. Never follow. And now, here are your hosts, Kyle Curtis and Steve McRae.
I got to thinking that after last night, we probably should have done what the people at the Academy Awards did and had like a major party, but we didn't do that.
After party? No.
Yeah, we didn't do that. Anyway, if you joined us last night, it was amazing. We had a great time with some great people, and I think that everything turned out just fantastic. What was your takeaway, Steve?
I don't think it could have gone any better. Even with the technical glitches, I thought it added a kind of a charm to it. And I think the people that won were very, very deserving. I don't think I would have changed any of the votes. I think that everyone who got the award earned it. And I was thrilled to be part of it. It was great. It was fun. I loved it. While
you're there speaking, Steve, do you want to introduce our guest really fast before I go into a couple of announcements and some housekeeping things?
Yeah, of course. Today we got the Messianic Manic. He's TMM to most people. He's had a YouTube channel for 2009, but started making videos around 2011, and basically videos debunking arguments relating to theist arguments of a god, Frank Turk's arguments, William Lane Craig arguments, promoting critical thinking, putting out videos on explaining different fallacies. But TMM, why don't you quickly give us a brief synopsis while he's getting ready to give a 10-minute speech about what's coming up here? Want to tell people about your channel?
Well, that pretty much covers it. I do a channel on mostly atheist stuff, but I try to branch out into other sort of skeptical kind of subjects. I also do a lot of videos on like gay rights and trans rights and things like that. That pretty much covers it.
Awesome.
Okay, so in terms of the calendar, what we've got coming up tomorrow, we will have Aaron Ra will be back with us tomorrow, and that will be the rescheduled Ole Anthony interview from last week. They had some tech issues on their end, but the gentleman that runs a watchdog organization called the Trinity Foundation, his name is Ole Anthony, and he was huge about a decade ago when he was responsible for taking down Robert Tilton, who many people know him today as the farting preacher. But back then, he was the biggest televangelist on TV and in the world. He was raking in, I think, close to $80 million. And it was Ole Anthony that and that organization that really stayed on him, found where he'd been taking prayer requests, Steve. And these prayer requests go straight to a bank in Oklahoma. And those basically so that the bank can pull out the money. Supposedly, they were prepackaging the prayer requests and sending them to Robert Tilton to pray over. They're going to take the money and then send those. What they were actually doing, though, was throwing the prayer requests in the in the dumpsters. So Ole Anthony and his foundation was going and getting these bags of prayer requests, and that's when Diane Sawyer did that kind of I can't talk today. Expose, yeah, expose on Robert Tilton, and they found out that there was over 6,000 prayer requests that were dumped in the behind the bank. So, funny thing is, he still uses that today. He still uses that same bank and that same process for when people send things to Robert Tilton. Still goes to the same place. But anyway, so that's going to be tomorrow. On Wednesday, we're actually going to be doing the Smoking Nun from Sunday. That's going to be moved to Wednesday. We're going to be talking about North Sentinel Island and what happened with that missionary. Destiny, if you guys know Destiny, is a big gamer. He's going to be with us on Friday, and so you make sure you join us for that. And then last but not least, on the 10th, I just want to put this out there. James Lindsay, if you don't know the name, James Lindsay, he has been in some headlines here in the past month for playing quite the hoax. He and several other people wrote about 20 academic articles, and they were false academic articles. But what they were doing is they were over-exaggerating. Like one study was about the discriminatory behavior behind dogs humping. And they sent these articles to actual journals to see which ones would go through and which ones, would be picked up, which ones would just be kicked out. And an alarming rate of these were actually picked up. And one of them actually even won an award. But he also got some notoriety back about 3 years ago for the Atheism Must Die campaign, it's not what it sounds like. He is actually an atheist, but he's saying that God is only as important as you make him out to be. He's an interesting guy, and he fresh off of Joe Rogan's podcast last week, so I'm really excited to talk to him. And if you hear the story, if you haven't heard it yet, go listen to that podcast because it's absolutely hilarious. Okay, one last thing. I love opening email from people that watch the show, don't you, Steve?
Daily.
Yeah. That's said with a subtle sarcasm. Most of the time, I do like opening my inbox, but on occasion there are some times that I get emails, and I wonder if the people that send them watch the show, because this gentleman also put this statement in the comment section of one of our Flat Earth videos, and I just kind of want to read it and answer his challenge that he's putting out there. He says, I have a challenge for you that you'll definitely be too scared to take on. The challenge is to prove that any religion teaches the earth is flat. You will not take on this challenge because you love bashing religion, and acknowledging that flat earthers use the Bible to support their beliefs make Christians look bad, so you allow the continuation of this myth. So, if you guys are smart, have me on, and I will debate you myself as to whether any religion teaches that the earth is flat. If I win, you have to stop bashing Christians based on idiotic flat earth claims. I doubt you will accept this because you want easy kill like flat earthers. A hard debate would challenge you. I have more subs than all of you combined, so maybe you can gain a few subs too. Crickets, thanks, Artisan Tony. I checked out Artisan Tony. Artisan Tony does have quite the sub count. It is a very high subscriber count. But Tony, I don't think that you've watched the show, because we've never once ever backed down from any challenge that has been put forth to us. Not once. And just like I said in my response, this will be another time that we won't either. We accept your challenge, and we'll set it up soon. I have been in response with you, and I'm not sure, Tony, there's a part of me that feels like you didn't think we would accept this challenge, because when I told you that we were going to accept it, you wrote back, I've made this assertion before in your comment section, but it seems you ignored them. It would take me several weeks to prepare. And you keep going on about how much time you need to prepare. There's so many people so many well-known people that need to be called to prepare for this. it sounds to me that you didn't expect us to accept this. So I'm wondering if you really are ready for this. And I'm going to give you an out. I'm going to give you the opportunity to just say, you called my bluff and be done with it. But if you really feel as strongly as you do, you don't need a month to prepare. Come on, let's handle this in 2 weeks. And that's the deal. If you're ready in 2 weeks, we'll do it. If not, then I'm just going to assume you were either trolling or trying to call our bluff. And but yes, we'll accept your challenge and show you that the Bible teaches a flat Earth.
Yeah, and I think that you're right. I think you're right on that he didn't really watch our show, because if people remember last night, we gave an award to the popular choice theist, which was Dr. Seigart, who's a Christian. So this narrative that somehow we're bashing Christians makes absolutely no sense to me. Some of our mods are Christian. S.J. Thomason is a Christian. She's a mod. So I don't understand that narrative. Clearly they don't watch, but or they hear what they want to hear.
Now, let's get into tonight's topic. Steve?
Yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about a subject called ichtheism. Most of you probably know kind of a little bit about the ichtheism. People have heard it bantered around, but there seems to be still some questions about what ichtheism is. It's a viable position. The Messianic Manic has a video on ichtheism and a couple on agnosticism, so maybe we can kind of do a transition from that to ichtheism to theological cognitivism to talk about agnosticism. But I kind of wanted to start with ichtheism as far as what his video was trying to get across, because I prior to going on air, we kind of had a little exchange, and I kind of understand now, which I didn't before, where he was coming from. So do you want to kind of explain your position on ichtheism, what it is, and what the video you had on it, and why you actually made that particular video?
Well, I have a couple of videos on atheism, and I wish I'd rewatched them before I came on, because I don't remember exactly what I said. But I have been using the terms atheism, agnosticism, and theological non-cognitivism sort of interchangeably, which is probably inappropriate. But what I mean when I say that I'm an atheist or an agnostic or a theological non-cognitivist is that the definitions of a God that I most commonly hear from apologists, especially William Lane Craig, don't make any discernible sense to me.
Yeah, and I understand you're trying to using it in a little bit of a local type of way. Let me kind of give you the way I understand it and see if you may agree on it. Is that cool?
Yeah.
So the way I understand ichtheism would be a position that would say that the word itself, God, doesn't really have any cognitive meaning that if it's used in a proposition, it doesn't make sense. So if you say God exists to an ichtheist, that means nothing. A theological non-cognitivist is a separate position, though. They're related, but a theological non-cognitivist would say that any position dealing with any God talk is not even a proposition to begin with. It's not true. It's not false. It'd be the equivalent of saying, in a moral context, like stealing is wrong, it would be true and false. But to an emotivist, which is a non-cognitivist position, they would say stealing, boo, which is not true or false. Does that kind of differentiate between the two?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that there are some, maybe I'm not a theological non-cognitivist then, because there are some definitions of God that I think are perfectly coherent. So, for example, I think there are some, probably not all, but some pantheists will simply say that God is the universe. And if what you mean by God is simply the universe, then if you say God exists, that's perfectly coherent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wouldn't put that under theism, though. Do you put that under theism?
It's certainly not a conventional form of theism. But I mean, they call it pantheism. Is that a misnomer? Perhaps.
Yeah, I guess it's up to them to determine whether they want to make that a theist or an atheist position. I generally put pantheism under atheism, because it's a position that there is no actual sentient God. It's just the universe is the God, whatever that means. I don't even know how to parse it out, but that's kind of what they would say. So I don't think it's a theist position, but if they wanted to posit it such, I'm okay with that. But yeah, the reason I was curious.
Will also say that the universe itself is also conscious, and
yes,
I would call that a kind of theism for sure.
Yeah, I think that's called panpsychism.
Yeah,